Uh, let me first of all welcome everybody, and I know you're having a good time. We started a little early today, as you can tell. My chairman was in some major meeting as he was doing his business today, which I'll introduce him at a later date. To my left is my colleague right here in Portland, Oregon, Chuck Mark Washington from the Portland Observer. I just want to say it's a really delightful time to be here. It's a delightful time to be in Portland. And it's really a delightful time to have a lot of our colleagues from all over the United States of America. We're about 200 strong. But one of the things that I have to say, the foundation chair told me earlier, and Mark, that we got to give some business to the local black business person.
Members of the NNPA to the City of Portland. Portland has been known for its accomplishments of Oregon Association of Minority Entrepreneurs, SEI Self-Enhancement, Project Clean Slate. I'd like to start by thanking my staff and my family. Without my staff being so supportive with me through this time of this last few years that I lost my oldest brother, who's the late publisher of the Portland Observer. It's been a real difficult time to try to transition into this position. I gotta say, I got a lot of respect and love for you publishers. Always have. But now that I'm doing it really is a special thanks to all of you. I see what you go through on a day-to-day basis. I'd like to thank my wife for being so supportive of me through this transition that I've been through over these last couple of years. I also like to give a special thanks to my brother Chuck Washington's wife, Elizabeth Washington, because I know it's been a real difficult time for me, and I know it had to be real difficult for her. She's the president of the Portland Observer. Without her and my brother, this business wouldn't be available right now to us. I don't think we'd be standing here. All right. I've had a lot of good mentors and people with this business. One of them is standing right to my right here, Mr. Bernie and his wife, Bobby Foster, who's been real supportive. And I'd just like to say thank you very much. Like my staff, like I said, they've been incredible. My nephew, Rakeem, Chuck's son, came on. He's the executive director. He's my advisor. He looks over everything, what I do, make sure that everything is running smooth. He's also my personal lawyer. If I don't have him, I have his wife, Molly. So. But I just want to say thank you very much and welcome to NNPA and Mr. Campbell and the NNPA board for bringing this event to Portland, Oregon.
Don't go nowhere. I just want to, it's always good to bring all our colleagues in town. And what we wanted to do is just have a little mixture of some of the local people. It was interesting today. I ran into two people. It's a true story. Ran into one individual. They said, "Bernie, you know Suggs?" Yeah. Well, I used to work for him. I used to do all this and this, and it was Chip Shield, our state senator. So he did something with Suggs here. And then I was talking to another lady that knew one of the other colleagues from Mississippi. So, it's a small world, and I guess when we put everything together, it's just amazing. So, just having said that, as I said earlier, we're about 200 people strong. And one of the first things why black newspapers started, and I think the chairman would talk about that later when I introduce him, was the fact that in 1827, that was the first black newspaper in America, 1827. And one of the first editorial comments was, and I quote, "Henceforth, blacks should speak to themselves and for themselves. No other can speak for us." Now, if that were true in 1827, I know it's true in 2014. Just think about this. The dynamics are going to really change, or will it? So I think each and every one is pay attention to what's going on in the next 10 years. He wouldn't have won it without 70% of the black votes. Now, what does that mean to us? And what we should be doing to keep our eye on that? So I challenge all my colleagues to push that a bit further. So with that, I'll just leave you with that bit of thought. And I do want to introduce a young man that I knew, when he was about 14 years of age, and now he runs the whole organization. So it tells me, I always tell my colleagues, us people our age, we got to roll over and let the young people run it. Huh? It's a new ball game. And this man has been with the organization since he was 14, 15. I worked with his daddy. He's been here several times. He's one of the few that's been here several times. And I wanted to introduce a good friend and my leader. And by the way, I made a little money in the last couple of years. So that's always appreciative. So without any further ado, my chairman, Clovis Campbell.
Well, good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Bernie, for those words. I've known Bernie for a long time, and he talked about the Freedom's Journal, and I think there was a press release about him in there quite some time ago. Honestly, I've known Bernie for a long time, since I've grown up. I've grown up in the publishing world, but it's a pleasure to be in the city of Roses, the place where when I think it was 1978, 79, I came here for an NAACP convention, and that was my first time I was the president of our youth chapter back then. I thought Portland was the most beautiful place I'd ever been to. Then I went to New York. But seriously, Bernie has taught me a lot. I followed him. He was former president of the West Coast Black Publishers Association and led us through a lot of great things, taught us about what partnerships are all about today. And so I'm proud to be here. And when Bernie mentioned that he wanted to have the conference here in 2014, it was a no-brainer. He said, you need to come to Portland. I said, well, Bernie, are you sure you can handle the program? Because I know that the only black folks play for the Portland Trailblazers that live in Portland. Hey, and he said, no, I got a few cousins that live here too. So, it's a pleasure to be here. I think about Portland, and everybody knows this is Nike Town, and everything goes. We're still waiting for Bernie to deliver on those Nike ads that he promised us a while ago. But, Bernie, I'm a patient man, and so are our publishers, but we don't stay patient for long. Really, it's a pleasure to be here. We talked about the things that we're doing here this year, coming to Portland and being a part of having NNPA come. And Bernie has always had an influence, him and the Washington family, in making sure that the community is involved. And when we walked into the room and we saw so many people here tonight, we knew that we had made the right decision by coming to Portland. So thank you all for coming here tonight. We really appreciate it. Just briefly, I want to, and Bernie, I know this isn't on the program, but I'm gonna take some privileges here. And we just had our board meeting here this afternoon. We selected a new president to lead us into the next few years, And this gentleman is a gentleman that we are so proud to have with us. He is a civil rights leader, and when you say civil rights leader, you look up the word civil rights leader, and Benjamin Chavis, his picture is right there under that definition. So I want to ask Dr. Benjamin Chavis to come up and just say a few words. I mean, we're lucky to have him as our president, but you know how formidable he is on the national presence that he has. So, Brother Chavis, do your thing, man.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much. Let's give another hand for our chairman, Chairman Clovis Campbell. This is the chairman's reception. And I'm always a student of history. And the truth of the matter is, if it was not for the black press and the black church and black-owned businesses, our communities would not be where they are today. We should always take account for all of those that have gone before us. And I want to thank all of the board of the National Newspaper Publishers Association. I want to thank the executive committee. I want to thank our chairman. This is my first public utterance as the interim president of the NNPA. So the record will show that I made these words here in the great city of Portland, Oregon. Let's thank our hosts. We've had a great convention thus far. We're going to be here for the rest of the week. I'm not going to make a long speech. I just want to say this. 2014 is a great time to be alive in America, a great time to be alive in the world in which we are today. But I think about our young people here in Portland, our young people across America who are yearning for a better quality of life. We say that the National Newspaper Publishers Association, that we're the voice of the black community. And to make that assertion means that we always have to be prepared to articulate through the print press and what we say publicly on behalf of people sometimes that may not have a voice, or people who have been marginalized, or people who have been kept down from their full human potential. A lot of primary elections yesterday, all the pundits are making analysis, but one thing is true. We live in a democracy that requires our participation.
Yes, we do.
And whether we're in Harlem, I'm so glad that Congressman Charlie Rangel was reelected. And it shows that we still have work to do. So I'm excited. People are asking me, well, ma'am, why you want to work with the NNPA? I can't think of a better job.
That's right. That's right.
I can't think of a better job. So I'm looking forward to coming back to Portland, coming back to the West Coast. Our national office is in Washington, D.C. Lord knows we got a lot of work to do in Washington. Whatever happens in the negative, they always try to bring our president. But I happen to think that President Barack Obama is the best president that the United States of America has had. And I believe that the black press had a lot to do with his election. Had a lot to do with his re-election. We raised the aspirations of our people. We raised the hopes and the dreams. I tell people in the church all the time, be careful what you pray for, because God will answer your prayers. And so our prayers are being answered. And certainly, I believe that the next year we celebrate our 75th anniversary of the National Newspaper Publishers Association. We have something to celebrate. And Chairman Campbell, I'm going to thank you for your leadership. We got some work to do. I'm looking forward to it. And I hope that what we consider the mainstream press better look out, because the voice of Black America is going to print the truth, going to circulate the truth, going to distribute the truth, and we're going to build on the strong foundation that has been built here in this city by the Black press and all of our cities and towns. God bless the National Newspaper Publishers Association, and God bless all of you.
So what we want to do right now, we want to recognize some people. One of the things that the national requires us to do is to submit names who we think will be a good candidate for the national award, as well as the local 2 newspapers involved in it. So if you don't get this award, don't look at me. It came from the national. They make the final selection in terms of everything. So with that, I'm gonna bring Bobby up, and Mark will talk about his selection, and Bobby will talk about our selection.
Okay, this award right here is really well deserved. This is someone in the community that's been working extremely hard with people who didn't have insurance. And they opened up a clinic and just helped people out that didn't have any insurance. Saved a lot of lives, including my own. Dr. Jill and Pastor Mary Overstreet from North by Northeast.
Yes.
Hey, Andrew. Thank you so much. Let's get a photo right here. Share it with you. This gentleman right here has done so much in the community for so many years, has impacted a lot of lives with young kids, and even given elderly people, older people, job opportunity when it was done there. Mr. Tony Hobson. We'll get it figured out, bro. She's not here. I don't think she's here right now. This last award is that I picked, that I nominated, was very instrumental in my life. Always have been ever since I've been in the newspaper business. When my brother passed away, he told me if something happened to go see Mr. Bernie Foster, because he would help me. Mr. Bernie Foster. Well deserved. Yeah, we just hold it up. Let's get a picture though. Thank you.
I must be getting over.
Okay. Yeah. I'm in. I learned that from my brother. Okay. So now we'll turn over the mic to Ms. Bernie Foster.
Good evening. Good evening. Welcome everyone to the City of Roses. We're so delighted to have you here, and we hope that you'll be able to venture from the hotel for a few moments to take in the many wonderful sights in the city of Portland. I did not have the opportunity to, we'll have a technical meltdown here. Here we are. I always like to have a printed copy in my hands rather than just to rely on technology. But anyway, as you know, I'm Bobby Doré Foster, Vice President and Editor of the Skanner News Group, and it's my privilege to honor some of the members of our community who have made lasting contributions to the welfare of the people of the state of Oregon. I'm going to start with our former Senator Avel Gordly, who has a long and distinguished career representing North and Northeast Portland in the Oregon legislature. From 1991, she served 3 terms in the Oregon House of Representatives. Then in 1996, she became Oregon's first African-American senator. She's known as an independent thinker, and so she dropped her party affiliation to serve in 2006 and has served as an independent until 2008. 2008, she is retired from the Senate, and she has been a powerful advocate for mental health services, and she's been the driving force between Oregon Health Science University's Avel Gordly Center for Healing. And she's very proud of this, and we are as well. This center delivers culturally sensitive mental health services to African Americans and other people of color in Portland. And she has done many other things that have not been mentioned here, but we were told to make this very brief, and so we are. Senator Gordly. The Albina Ministerial Alliance was started in the early 1960s by 2 ministers, Reverend John Jackson and Reverend O.B. Williams, in order to voice concerns of people of color in Portland. After the shooting of Kendra James in 2001, the Alliance created the Coalition for Justice and Police Reform, which brought together churches and other community groups to demand oversight and policy changes in Portland Police Bureau. In 2005, the coalition called for an investigation into police use of force in Portland. The U.S. Department of Justice did initiate an investigation into police treatment of people with mental illnesses and found police had a pattern or practice of violating the rights of people with mental illness. The Albina Ministerial Alliance has been a key member of the group working on police reform measures in Portland. Thanks to the Alliance, dozens of community members had a chance to testify in federal court about their experiences with the Portland Police Bureau. And thanks to the Alliance, Judge Simon said he will require annual progress updates on this settlement. So we want to honor the Albina Ministerial Alliance's Coalition for Justice and Police Reform. And so we have members, please come forward. JoAnn, this is a few of the members, not all of them. JoAnn Hardesty, who is also a former state representative. And Reverend LeRoy Haines. Reverend Haines. Here he comes.
My partner in crime. Right next to you. On your side, on this side. Right, they put you on this side.
Thank you all. Thank you very much for the work that you've done, the important work that you've done.
So we're getting pretty close to the end, so just bear with us a little bit here. I just want to I just want to recognize a couple of our elected officials, and I will talk about our chairman in just a short brief. We have City Commissioner Nick Fish, and he'll have a couple of remarks.
Good evening. My name is Nick Fish, and I have the honor of serving as the president of the Portland City Council. To Chairman Campbell and Chairman Chavis, and to our honored guests from the NNPA, I want to welcome you to the City of Roses and tell you how proud we are that you have chosen our city for your convention. Let's give them a round of applause, Bernie. Someone said earlier that we live in a small world, and I want to just share with you very briefly a small world story that Senator Gordly and I shared earlier. And I'll start with a question. What do the NNPA, the Chicago Defender, the great journalist Ida B. Wells, my wife, and Avel Gordly have in common?
They're all black.
I should just sit down after that one. That will come as a surprise to my mother-in-law, Carmen Gomez, but we will pass beyond that. Here's what they have in common. Now, we know that this great organization of black publishers was started by leaders of the Chicago Defender. And we know that the great anti-lynching crusader and pioneering journalist Ida B. Wells wrote for the Chicago Defender. Well, what you didn't know is that my wife, Patricia Schechter, wrote the definitive biography of Ida B. Wells. And when she was finished and received an award for that book, she teamed up with our esteemed senator to write the life story of Senator Avel Gordly. So let's give Avel a round of applause for her. Now, Bernie originally told me I could give the keynote. He then told me I had to cut it to 5 minutes. I now understand I have an extra 30 seconds. But it would not be appropriate before I leave this podium to ask for the help of the great black publishers that are in this room, and to join with Bernie and Bobby in a cause that we all hold very dear. The Skanner newspaper won an award for a series on Henry Lincoln Johnson. Henry Lincoln Johnson was the most honored soldier in World War I. He was so honored, he was the only American ever to receive the Palme de Guerre the Croix de Guerre with palm. But because of Jim Crow, he did not wear the uniform of our country. He wore the uniform of the French government.
That's right.
Theodore Roosevelt said he was the bravest man to serve in that war. He has yet to receive the due recognition in this country, which is the Medal of Honor. And there is only one man in this country that can right that wrong. And so my challenge to you is to join with Bernie and Bobby and the black press nationally and Chuck Schumer and Ron Wyden and others. We have 3 years left under this great president's tenure. Let's collectively make sure that Henry Lincoln Johnson posthumously receives the award he was denied when he was alive, the Medal of Honor of this great country. Thank you.
Lastly, I'm going to recognize just a couple of other people, and we won't have any remarks. It would be the Senator Chip Shields, I know he's the lead, and Representative Lou Fredericks up here. And lastly, let me just say something about as we close. I want to thank my staff for an outstanding job, and I think a couple of them are here today when they're taking pictures, some of those in those shirts. One of the things also I found out too, that those are the people that really do the heavy lifting. I want to thank the National Newspaper Publishers Association, and particularly Jackie Willis and her crew for working on this to bring this out to you guys. And also I want to tell you a true story about a guy that really helped me bring this thing here. And this Terry Jones out of Louisiana. So Terry, why don't you come on up here? Terry is the chairman of the tourism division. He takes things all over the country. One of the things that I told Terry that several years ago that I wanted to bring it here, he said, well, Bernie, what we gonna do, this and this and this. And we went 1 year, didn't get it, but he said, look, what we do, it's like any politician, we trade deals. It's always trading deals. Let's make a deal. You don't go for it this year, I'll go for it this year, but I need you to go for next year. So when Terry brought it to us, it was unanimous the following year, nobody in opposition. So I want to thank Terry for that, and he really cut the deal, and I certainly appreciate it. I hope I didn't give him any trade secrets today.
Terry Jones.
Good evening. Thank you. You guys are having a great, when Bernie talked about raising Clovis, I don't know exactly how old Bernie is. He helped raise me too. He was one of my mentors when I was 20-something years old in the NNPA. And I always like a mentor to me. He always gave me direction. So part of what he says is true. Part of what he says is, Terry, I want it now. Make it happen. And I'm like, yes, Mr. Bernie. So, just want to say a couple of things. It's really hard to put together a good convention, and especially what our chairman charges to do is get involved with the community. I asked Bernie about that, about getting involved with the Portland community. He said, I got this. I said, well, you sure, Bernie? He said, I got this. Tonight, he's got this. But all the other people that work with us is very important, because we wouldn't be here without our committee. And I'm really proud of our committee. We work very, very hard. My co-chair, Karen Carter-Richards, right there, we make it work. And if you bear with me, will the committee members, are you here, would you please just stand up for 1 second? Okay. Maybe around somewhere, but thank them very much for all the work they've done. Again, Bernie alluded to Jackie Willis, but Jackie Willis is the backbone of what we do. She makes our stuff work. So Jackie, we thank you very much personally for being there, and Desiree for helping us look good when they do the work. Again, thank you very much. If this is the beginning of our convention, it's going to be dynamic throughout the week. So thank you again, Bernie, for a kickoff that I've never seen before. You're a bad man again, brother. Thank y'all.
And while I know everybody getting tired of me. That's great. You won't see no more of me for a while. And I was telling Clovis, sometimes you bring a situation in town, so you're probably not going to get it again. So you better take advantage of it. So, I'm taking advantage of all this stuff tonight. You get to my age, you can do that. So, but I want to say, I couldn't have done it without really a lot of my local sponsors, and I know he's gonna come to thank his sponsors too. I have some wonderful sponsors throughout the year, and please believe me, it's hard to get them, but the ones you get, you better hang on to them too. So I really want to thank the Patrick Quinn for the Portland Development Commission. I understand he's not here, but he'll be there tomorrow. I think one of his assistants is here today, John Jackley. I believe he's here somewhere. So I want to thank him too. The Port of Portland, as you come through the Port of Portland, they've been just a tremendous support throughout the year. The other thing too, you'll see those big old fancy cars parked out there. So I want to tell you that I want to thank Ford, General Motors, and Andrew from the Mercedes-Benz dealership. By the way, for those that's coming out here, you can buy one of these cars and pay no taxes. Okay, and you can drive them back. Yeah, you can drive them back to New Orleans. And of course, I wouldn't be remiss without the really support of Jeff Miller from Travel Portland. I know he was here. Jeff, thank you, thank you, thank you. And lastly, this is one of our sponsors, national, as well as my local. I was at a meeting a couple of years ago, and I said, I have a good relationship with my local Wells Fargo bank. I really have. You know, I tell everybody, 35 years ago, I love the old way of doing deals, because I used to call Wells Fargo. I said, look, there's a piece of property over there on so-and-so, 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 and it costs about $30,000. They said, okay, Bernie, go and get it, and the check will be ready tomorrow. Boy, now I love those deals, but those are gone. So I want to close. I got to bring up Miss Tracy Curtis. Tracy is the regional president of the Oregon region of Wells Fargo, and the executive vice president, and she is responsible for managing about 115,000 employees and 2 banks across Oregon and Washington. So please welcome, and I know, Clovis, you will be working with them tomorrow. So Tracy, would you come forward? Thank you.
All right, I'm between you and the last cocktail, I think. So I'll make this very quick. Welcome to Portland. And we're so proud to be a sponsor. I'm honored to be here with a table full of celebrities here. And spend a lot, no taxes. I moved here from San Francisco in January. Let me tell you what I've learned. No taxes, go spend a lot of money, Mercedes, Nordstrom's, wherever. You don't pump your own gas. Take advantage of that, because they freak out if you try and buy gas here. Let's see what else. It is the City of Roses, and whatever you say, the Trailblazers are the best team in the NBA. No matter what those Texans think, right over here. Especially my boy Damian. So go Trailblazers. So have a great convention. I'll be at breakfast tomorrow morning. I thank you for coming to Portland. What a great honor for our city. So thank you so much. Enjoy.
I want to really thank our host sponsors tonight from Coca-Cola. They really did a good job. We got some Coca-Cola products, so enjoy them. Also want to thank our sponsor, our new media partner, let me get it right, WJMJ.
MJWJ.
Well, they got right here it says MJWJ. All right, I can't believe everything I print. I can only believe what's in the black press that's printed. Okay, and then I want to also acknowledge our publishers who are here. If you're members of our NNPA publishers and our board of directors from the foundation and also on the association, would you just please stand and let them know that we're here to support Portland? We have some past presidents as well. Dorothy Lavelle, John Smith, Chris Bennett, Tom Watkins. So we're always happy to see them here. And then I also want to give, let me say one other thing. See, here come Bernie again. Every time I look up.
Give the restaurant tell a little plug.
Oh, okay. He told me to make sure we give Portland Prime a plug. We always make a point to make sure we support the businesses locally that support us in Portland Prime. I just want to make sure that those lamb chops you got for me are right on time. So I haven't eaten yet, but I'm getting ready to have some. And then, I would be remiss because all of my member publishers know that I like to tell a story. See, there they go. Oh, Lord. And this is the short one. It's going to be, look at Dorothy over there shaking her head. And, it's about, she's asleep. It's about a couple of gentlemen and before I say this, I want to preface that all of my stories are always true. And so what happens is there were these 2 young gentlemen who were avid hikers and fishers and hunters. And for tonight, we'll call one Bernie, and we'll call the other one Mark. And so they both had been traveling and going through the hills up in the mountains in Oregon, and had decided they wanted to get a drink of water at a river. And so they started walking. And as they continued to walk down the river to find a good spot, the wall started to cave in on them to like a canyon type setup. And as they continued to walk, and Bernie being the old dude got real thirsty, Mark being the young dude was continuing to walk on, and they almost got to the end. And at the end, just before they got ready to the good, clean, fresh, sparkling mountains of Oregon water, there was a bear that was sitting right at the edge of the water. And Bernie looked at Mark, and Mark looked at Bernie. And all of a sudden, Mark looked at Bernie, and Bernie had stopped. And he reached into his backpack to put on his tennis shoes. And Mark looked at him and said, "Man, I don't know why you putting on them shoes, old school. You can't outrun that bear." He said, "Mark, I only got to outrun the bear." So if you think about that one, I know y'all sitting there like, what the hell does that mean? That means that he was going to let the bear eat Mark, and Bernie was going to keep running. That's all right. This is a black joke here, so you got to run with me. I also want to make sure that we acknowledge our other sponsor, MJWD, Judy Foster. Judy? Dr. John Stanford is going to come up and say a couple of words for us really quick.
Greetings. I'm very glad to be here, and to our to our chairman, to our honored and distinguished guests, and to all of our honorees, I'd like to thank for the opportunity to be here with you and share this moment with you. One of the things that I am Dr. John Stanford Jr. I am co-founder, co-owner, and president of MJWJ Talk Radio Network. We have a radio network program and a website, www.mjwjtalkradio.com. As I said, it's an honor to be here, and I just want to thank the chairman for allowing us to be here and working with us on our partnership. We have a new partnership with NNPA, and we'll be working here this week to fortify that partnership. And I also want to thank the board of directors of NNPA, the foundation board of directors, and I also like to thank Karen Carter Richards for the outstanding work and her facilitation of our being a partner with NNPA. At this time, I'd like to introduce my co-founders and my co-owners of MJWJ. And I'll start off with Michael McCall. I knew Michael. We worked together at NASA. Michael has several businesses on his own, and he handled our operations for MJWJ. Secondly, I would like to, and the one other thing that he did, he introduced me to my fiance. All right. And the second person I'd like to introduce is Judy Foster. Good stand. She is world-renowned in her own right. She is owner and president of Foster International. She has over 25 years of experience in media, planning functions, and everything else. And I'm proud to say, as of a week ago, she is my fiance. And lastly and not least is the legendary Wash Allen, and he is the cornerstone, and he is our franchise person. And toward that end, if you notice at the dessert table out there, you'll see some of his world famous pecan pralines. So go make sure you take some home with you. Guaranteed. Briefly, a little bit about MJWJ for those who don't know about MJWJ. Also, just a few comments about the partnership. MJWJ is an online 24/7 global radio network. We aim to educate, inform, and inspire our listeners. And we have over 36 shows, and our programming can be found on this card that has been distributed and left out front and somewhere on the table. So I invite you to take a look at that. Just a few brief comments about the partnership. This partnership is a win-win-win partnership. Through education, through information, and through inspiring people, we can change the minds and the hearts of Americans. We can be able to shine the spotlight on things that are wrong and address those wrong and make a change. And lastly, we can be the beginning of change in our own communities that can affect the United States and also other countries around the world when it comes to eliminating, eradicating, and reducing racism, whatever form, shape, or fashion. And lastly, MJWJ recently launched a harmony campaign primarily aimed at eliminating racism in their attitudes and in action among people in the United States and around the world. And to that end, we are working together with this partnership, and as part of the slogan says, together we are a force of the future. So tonight I ask two things of you. Number one is to join us in this harmony campaign. And secondly is to take out your phones and download our website to your cell phones so that you can be up to date with what we are doing wherever you are. Because we are a feel-good radio network. We can listen anywhere and be happy everywhere. Thank you.
We want to thank our partners, and our partners really put a lot into our organization. They're here with us in a sizable amount of a donation, along with advertising in the black press. That's Chrysler, Chevy, GM, Ford, and Pepsi. So I want to thank them as well. And then I would be remiss if I did not thank my special assistant, Onisha Frazier, because she's been working hard for the whole conference. So Onisha, thank you as well. And then finally, I want to thank the city of Portland for welcoming us and making us feel so at home. And we really look forward to spending money with you, because I know that's what you want us to do. And we'll enjoy your city as much as we can. We invite you all to come to the Nines Hotel, come to some of our events, and we look forward to seeing you there. And last but not least, I want to say not only did Bernie Foster have Harriet Tubman sign his yearbook. He also, years later, he also helped Jesse Owens learn how to run track. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you.